So today, I wanted to take the time to talk about the air. In fighting games, you will be able to jump in the air. What you can do in the air varies depending on game to game, but typically in a traditional 2D fighter like Street Fighter, you jump and you have a set jump arc. It doesn't matter what I do with the stick or the directions, once I've committed to my jump, that's the direction that I'm going. In other fighting games like Guilty Gear, once you jump first, you'll be able to do an air dash, which is just like a ground dash, except in the air. And you can dash forwards or backwards while in the air. Something that is universal about fighting games as well is that whenever you're in the air, you can hit an attack button. And of course, every button in the air is different from a button on the ground. Standing light punch and jumping light punch. Standing heavy kick, jumping heavy kick. Something that's unique about jumping attacks is that if you land while doing a jumping attack, you are almost immediately actionable. See, that comboed. Occasionally, some characters can even cancel their jump normals into special attacks. Not every character will have special moves that they can use in the air, or some characters will have multiple. It just depends character to character. Some characters, like grounded normals, will also have command jumping normals. Aki's standard jumping heavy punch looks like this. A little bit of a diagonal stab. But her down jumping heavy punch doesn't hit at the same angle. Sometimes these jumping command normals will be completely different. Here's Akuma's jumping medium kick, and here is his jumping down medium kick. A little dive kick of sorts. Some characters will even have an air grab. Or if you're Guile, you'll have two. Any grab on the ground usually cannot catch a character that is in the air. You have to get them while they're on the ground. She was on the ground. She's not on the ground. Completely missed. The same goes for an air grab. An air grab will only affect characters who are in the air. She's in the air, so that will get her. However, if you have an air grab come into contact with a grounded opponent, even if it goes straight through them, it will not connect. On very rare occasions, there will be moves that are on the ground, which will only be able to grab aerial opponents. And of course, there are grabs that are only air to ground. Now, something that will vary from game to game, but in most traditional 2D fighters, you cannot block in the air, even if you are holding back. If we have Chun-Li doing an aerial attack, I cannot block it, even if I hold it down back in the air or up back, it doesn't matter. The importance of attacks coming from the air, besides the fact that they cancel whenever they hit the ground, is that you are only allowed to block one direction, holding away from the opponent. But if the opponent jumps over you, that holding away from the opponent becomes holding towards the opponent. So, if your opponent is going to hit in front of you, you need to block it holding to the right if you are Chun-Li, or if they're going to hit on the right side of your character model, you will have to block left. And this is called a cross-up. However, not all jumping attacks can hit cross-up. For example, Aki's standard jumping heavy punch will not hit Chun-Li if she goes across. However, her jumping down heavy punch will cross up very easily, even if it is a narrow range. Or you could be a character like Lily, whose jumping down heavy punch can hit from miles away on front or from behind on cross-up. That means that if your opponent has you in the corner, you now not only have to worry about high-low blocking, but if you're not entirely in the corner, you have to worry about your opponent crossing you up with a left-right mix-up. One of the easiest ways to deal with attacks coming from the air is to stand block them. Of course, with your opponent's vulnerability in the air, you can do several things to stop them. You can use one of your normals, which will sometimes hit, or sometimes trade if you hit it too late. You can use a special move, which is invulnerable to air attacks, or you can jump up and hit them with an air-to-air to meet them. It all depends on what you're feeling like and how the opponent is playing. Typically, safer options are always better. Even in the most ground-based of fighting games, combat from the air is one of the most important things to look out for. Whether your opponent can cross you up, which direction you will need to block an attack from, or if your opponent is weak to cross-ups. Aerial combat is always going to be important in any fighting game.